This is Justin Scoop on Monday, November 3rd, 2025. Take a look at SPX. So I've got kind of things zoomed out a little bit on the 3 minute to show yesterday how we opened up with some immediate selling, gapping up and selling. And we did that again today. Gap up, selling. We even paused, put in kind of some bullish candles right around the same place near open, right around the 68.50 price. Bounced a little bit more yesterday, bounced with a bullish candle, and then we sold off pretty hard. Came down almost to the low of yesterday. I thought there was a chance we'd actually take that out, have a bear engulfing candle. We didn't do that. But the main thing I wanted to point out is I had drawn in this kind of couple inverted head and shoulders here. So you could say that we had this one, we came down into that. Oh, it wasn't a great neckline. Okay, here's the neckline. All right, we kind of came down into that. And technically, that one worked where this was the retest portion, and then we gapped up, and this was really pretty much a measured move off of that one, maybe even a more than a measured move. So that would have worked. The only problem with that, you would have had to kind of get in exactly at close and get out exactly at open, because if you waited, it retraced entirely back into that neckline. The other one, so there's that. The other one was kind of this bigger uh, inverted head and shoulders, and the neckline being here, and that just didn't work. That retested, but this was not the place to be going long. It didn't go bullish at all. We even just, once we opened up, we pretty much got underneath that price within, it looks like within 5, 6 minutes. Uh, So yeah, so that idea, that plan, that speculation of what could happen didn't work. Um, so overall today was really obviously a lot of bearishness to get down here, and then really just a really big S curve. And then into the close, we really just kind of chopped. We really didn't make much of a decision. So that left the room for us to go uh, bullish or bearish from here. And I say that left the room because at this point right now, futures are actually down quite a bit. And so it's looking like if futures hold where they're at, and when I'm doing this video, it's looking like we should open somewhere down in here or potentially even have that gap down. And let me switch back over to the daily. It's there's potential that we could actually leave this gap intact and actually have an island here, which would be somewhat of an island reversal shape that we had talked about the other day. Uh, there's very little room left for this to be an open gap, but if we do gap down and trade into the range of 1024, then we would have actually had an island reversal to get down below that. Whether it stays intact, we could retrace back up. There's a number of things. Let's see how things move tomorrow. If it does actually, in fact, gap down and open somewhere in this range, and then let's see kind of how that plays out. Then the other piece of that was this is still an open gap here and even to these highs. So there's a very slight open gap just below this candle, a very slight open gap above this candle. If we come down, if we gap down and trade in this range and then gap down again, that could be like an island reversal inside of an island. So like something. Well, let's see. Let's wait and see. So despite having 5 days of bear candles, if we do actually gap down, it's like what all of a sudden now it's like what happened to the bulls? Because I mean the bulls really pushed this up, right? Like trapping bears. Now, if the bears have come in here, I mean, this is a lot of selling. Even like the last 3 days have really pushed up into this level, pretty much the high of the bull candle, and just sold off each day pretty sharply yesterday and today. So the bulls are here. I'm sorry, the bears are here. But it's like, at what point are we going to see bulls actually buy this back up? That could be this level here, back into this high, could be down back into this high, kind of where the bulls had given it up before. We could potentially come back down to this midline, the 21 in here. There's a number of places we can come back down. What's also interesting is the histogram here, it just keeps pushing up. We haven't had one of those resting days where it's a blue color instead of the cyan color. Uh, and even though we've kind of had some pulling back, all of this has been some pulling back. It's been more so sideways, I guess, than actually pulling back. But yeah, it just things aren't seeming to agree. Um, so yeah, I don't know where things are actually going to go or what strength will be there. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Let me zoom out and we'll look at, so we closed the day right around the 68.50. We talked about the 68.50 having some bullishness early on in the day. Obviously on the call, we were just doing some selling. Uh, the call at the end of the day, put in a low all the way down to zero point 0.4, bounce back up, but this was in the last 3 minute candle of the day. It looks like there were some opportunities to buy a few minutes before that, still under $1. I think the better setup would have actually been the 68.50 put, because at this point you've got that S curve shape, and so anytime it's coming back up, um, actually on the put, it was forming a really nice base through all of that. So actually, before I zoom out, let me pull up this and get this lined up so we can just see where these levels were at. So we've got a low here that matches up pretty well with this, the high there. And then the lows over here match up pretty well with all of, it wasn't the best one, match up pretty well with all of these highs here. And so each time we got into those levels, so this was kind of a previous high here, this was a retracement of that high, we sold down, retested back up to this, sold a little, sold some more, sold some more, really couldn't get some sustained selling. But each time we were buying off of that kind of nicely until we weren't. It didn't work right into the end of the day. That's where the bullishness came in. Um, but because this was so muted, this was pretty much a very contained move down. You're not going to get some huge moves um, like we've had some other days where it shoots up from $3 all the way up to 23 or something. It wasn't that kind of day. It moved slightly into the close. Obviously the bigger move of the day was this sell off. That would have been getting into a put at the open, really, which I guess kind of worked yesterday. So that would have worked today. And just hold on for the ride until it's like, okay, it's at a good level. But it didn't seem to run into any particular low or, obviously there was some buying that came in pretty strongly. So this reversed. So if you had gotten in bearish and rode part of this move, even this, that would have been a great way to trade that. So even doing something like that on this option would have been buying around like 6 and getting out at like 16. That would have been a nice $1,000 per contract. So there's ways to do that. Just being ready, anticipating kind of what it's going to do. I typically am looking for something that's consolidating later. And in this case, we actually had some consolidation here at that high. We had the squeeze going on. You'd expect kind of a bigger move because of that. And then actually, I mean, check the price here. I think the low is around 2. This was, yeah, so this you could have been buying at 2. Let's zoom in on the put. I could have been buying at 2 and just doubling it, 2 up to 4. Looked like that worked a couple times. Did not work from here. From 2, that only got up to 3.5, but it worked over here. So you could have bought a 2, stopped down at 1, and doubled the option up to 4 a number of times. I don't know that you would have done this one, but if you had done this one here, it would have pulled all the way back, and then it would have made it here, and then another time here. But then it didn't work here. So even though it didn't work here, if you had held through this one, that would have worked. And then I don't know if you would have been buying that there. So looks like it worked twice today, 2 times out of kind of 4 or 5 times, just doing the same setup. Those are great to look for. If you're winning on them, then you're not going to have any wash sale issues. If you did get out of something and got out for a loss, maybe you're not getting back in. So, it's really just a matter of really reading the market. What is it doing? How is it moving? We've got the 100 right here, so that would have been a good target coming back from here. I was kind of looking at this, trying to see, okay, what's shaping up here? Do we have something where we've kind of got a recent high and then a hesitation and then a trap, but it didn't really, this didn't push above that. So it wasn't really that formation. This could be like some sort of head and shoulders, but I didn't really like that being like a neckline and that being the right shoulder. I didn't like the shape of that either. Um, I guess another way to draw this would have been kind of all of that being the head, and then you have really a flat or muted shoulder. Normally, well, not some of the time I've seen that break down, retest, then it does go. Like it's really weak buying on the right shoulder, but we didn't have that during the day today. It just went sideways. Um, show real quick where where the ES is at in terms of futures. So this will load. Okay, it's jumping around. Okay, so here is where we were today. Right? No, this is more than just today. This is this is all of Monday. The cash session, the typical market hours are from Monday at 8:30. Where would that be? 8:30 till 3. So that would have basically been around this. So here's your sell off. I'm a little bit off here, but yeah. So just go right through there. Okay, pretty close. Okay, so here's your sell off. So this is what we're just looking at on, or approximately what we're just looking at on SPY. Okay, so now after this, so the day closes at 4 o'clock and then reopens at 5 o'clock. So you've got 23 hours in a day on ES. And so this is what's happened since the market reopened, or since ES reopened, the S&P 500 index. Futures opened at 5 p.m. This evening. It's pretty much been going down. So you're not going to see a gap. Typically, you don't see a gap in that hour, that 4 to 5 p.m. hour. It can happen, but we'll look for gaps on SPY, SPX, things like that. But this is pretty much trading, 23 hours a day. So it's harder for a gap to form in that amount of time. Can happen, has happened, but really we're just looking for, if we keep pushing down here, and right now we are below these lows. If I translate that, actually, if I go look at SPY, it might actually show where the gap would be. I get an alert on here at 678, and we're almost at that price. Let's see, I want to see, let me go to 2 hour. Yeah, so I can see some of this. So we've got this area here, that's a gap. Let's get really tight in on this. Okay, so this area, oh, there it is, right there. That's an open gap right there. So right now we're trading down through that price. If we open where we're at right now, we could definitely have an island reversal if that stays a gap, and the high does not get back through that range today or tomorrow for Tuesday. And then likewise, this actually, I don't know if that wick happened during the day. So that's the 8 o'clock candle. So I think that happened between 8 and 8:30. For this one, I'm gonna have to go to a 30-minute chart to actually look at this. Well, that's neat. It's got some triangles. I must have that feature turned on. Okay, what is going on? That's still showing something happened. Oh yeah, that is okay. So the low on this day is 675 and 65 cents. Okay, so you can ignore this, but basically um, we have basically this range as, like this, a little more than that, as an open gap between these 2 days, um, from the 23rd to the 24th. So that's another open gap that is below where it looks like we'll be opening, on Tuesday. So It's actually really interesting when these just show up. I forgot I had this feature turned on. I think I've only got it turned on certain time frames. And let's see if I can click on it. So it's a triangle, and it's just kind of reading what consolidation. I don't know that I trust the consolidation and how it formed it. I'm not seeing as much of a triangle shape when you include something like this. I do like the top edge a little bit more. So you could draw something like that yourself. You can kind of see that. I see more of a flat bottom. If I could draw a flat bottom or relative lows like that. Um, and so, yeah, if this breaks down, if it were to retest back up, then, the island reversal thing may go away. But, we could do something like that. I, I was thinking about the last couple of days. We've really held the high really well, and we've held the low relatively well. It's more of just a sideways distribution channel where people are selling, people are getting out. And then if we do break down and again retest, that's just a sideways channel. It's not going up, not going down. It's just sideways. There's probably ways to do something tighter like this going up, and I don't have that on this chart. But I'm not seeing as much of a triangle. I think this is just connecting 2 points. That's There's not really a third touch in there. Similarly, this and this, obviously 2 points. You also have this nearby and this kind of a little bit above nearby. So I feel like there's kind of four touches through here, or maybe 3.5 touches, because that didn't really touch. Um, so I like having at least 3 points to kind of form that top edge. So I can see the top edge. I don't really see the bottom edge. I think it's trying a little too hard, but it's there's something that the parameters that it's reading are kind of looking for that. Same with like something like this. This is kind of the one I was talking about. Actually, I don't think I ever went down to the 30-minute to show this, but there was some consolidation here. I think I had this drawn a little lower, connecting, this angle down here through here. But this one, it does give the projection. Well, each of these gives a projection where it could target. This one actually played out really interesting that it targeted this level and then it didn't get into it till over here. So if I hold the cursor on that, you can see where we ran into the low of that target zone and stopped, pulled back, into that consolidation really nicely. I wish this would stay on. Can I get that to stay on? I can hide it. I can't get it to stay on because I'm trying to highlight, and then I want to draw something over here. But here, let me do it this way. I didn't mean to get into this today, but this is the low edge, and then it's like a box like that. That did not do it justice. But anyway, there's the green box. So you can see we ran up right into the low edge, and then it took, a few more days to get back up through that. And then the top edge is kind of where that gap is. So that's interesting too. I really think if there's a lot of this playing off of this triangle, I feel like this is stronger. Maybe not this exact triangle, but the consolidation that we had at that time. And so that could be a really, really good target for a bigger pullback here is if we come back into a level like this. So low 660s, something like that. If we were to take out this low and people think, oh, it's going down, then this could be another really big head and shoulder. There's a lot of things that have to happen before that. I don't know that that is what we're going to do. But you can see we've got, some weakness going on here. Depending on what happens, we could have something like this where we've got a top edge and maybe a bottom edge here, and we just have to kind of wait and see where are we going to have any bouncing, where are we going to have any touches, are there going to be some S curves there? But this is looking like some bearishness may come in. It could still just be short-lived. We could really rally hard out of this because this has consolidated. That's the biggest thing to consider the last few days. We have gone sideways. We have really consolidated, going sideways, 4 bear candles in a row. Really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles. This kind of island, relatively flat island. It didn't push up really high. There's been lower wicks. There's been not many upper wicks the last 2 days. It really sold off hard yesterday and today. So if we actually get a move above, or even if we gap above, we're going to trap all these bears, all these people getting out of positions, taking profits, could be that, but also people shorting because we did just make another new all-time high or multiple in a row. Um, So anybody shorting up here, they'd be immediately wrong if we gapped up. So I don't know that we're going to have a gap up Tuesday unless something comes out in the morning um, that would really move things significantly. So I would anticipate, at least for now, that we'll have an open lower down here. 678, I think, is the price that we're kind of nearby right now, right? 678. Yeah, it's right around that alert. I don't know if this alert's going to go off as soon as it hits it or if it waits. I think it wait, yeah, because we just pushed through that. So the low on there is 677.85, and I did not get an alert. So I think the alert is only set to go off during the cash hours. So I'll have to wait for the alert, see if it happens right at open. But I just set those alert or those. I had an alert at 680, which we tagged here, and I was not ready to buy. Got 6 cents past it. I'm like, that'd be a good place to buy, and then it hit it, and I wasn't ready with an order to buy it back up. But that would have worked out nicely today back into that S curve. So here's the next alert at 678. So this could be another really nice buying location, a little lower than the 680 price. So the alert at 680 was just kind of let me know, hey, it's there. And then the alert at 678 is like, okay, here's kind of the next buy zone. Let's see what we do here. So that's what I'm looking for. And you'll have to wait and see what ends up happening Tuesday. All right. Hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.